Oh, a Packers Hall of Fame QB is contemplating retirement and may go to the Jets? Time is a flat circle. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Yep, get ready, folks. The offseason is just beginning. Grossi, and today we're going to talk about a potential Aaron Rodgers trade because things are heating up, especially with the signing of Nathaniel Hackett. Things have been heating up over the past couple of days, and I said on my episode that I did a week ago, I did a big long episode on Aaron Rodgers, and I really said I didn't want to get involved with this, and I still don't, because at the end of the day, and here's the most important takeaway, even if you just watch the first 90 seconds of this video, none of this matters. None of it. Because at the end of the day, what it comes down to, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play football no more, we're talking about absolutely nothing. And I want to make that very, very clear, because as Aaron Rodgers restated on Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show, no one in the Packers organization has indicated to him that they want to move on from him or that they're going to trade him. He just says that he's looking at this, he's based in reality, saying that they drafted a younger guy and now there's going to be these kinds of talks. But so far, the Packers have not given him any indication that they want to move on. Instead, Brian Gutekunst has said, and Aaron Rodgers has said, listen, I'm going to take my time. I need to figure out if I want to play football or I want to retire. And if I want to come back, then the conversations about my future are going to be had. So what this episode really is going to do today is, because a lot of these rumors are starting to heat up, I wanted to break down what a trade of Aaron Rodgers would look like in the hypothetical that we're going down, because Aaron Rodgers went down that same hypothetical last week on Pat McAfee. He did it again this week. Basically said he'd be at peace with it, because if that's what the organization wanted, then that's what the organization wanted, and he'd be okay with that. So again, that's a little bit of a shift because he wanted to retire, but it might just be coming to a place where, hey, he wants to still play football. The Packers want to move on, and that would force this trade. Rodgers also said last week on Pat McAfee that he doesn't imagine a scenario where the Packers would trade him to a place he doesn't want to go, so Rodgers would have some say in it. And to be honest, the only team that makes a whole lot of sense for me and for, I think, Aaron Rodgers would be a team like the Jets. The 49ers are being thrown out there, but I don't think the Packers are going to trade him within the NFC, one. And two, the 49ers as an organization, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you bring in Aaron Rodgers when you have Brock Purdy, who has helped you to the NFC Championship game, and you also have Trey Lance, which you traded an arm and a leg for? So it doesn't really make sense to me that they're going to bring in a veteran guy like Brady or Rodgers, so I'm going to leave him out of it. There's, of course, talks about the Colts, in which you could see that, but I just don't think they have the offensive line, the offense, or the defense really to go and win a championship this year. And then you have the Raiders. You could have a reuniting with Devontae Adams, but they're another one. I think they have a good core offense, but that defense leaves some to be desired. So instead, we're going to talk about what a hypothetical trade would look like to the New York Jets, as that has been the team that is so closely linked to Aaron Rodgers. And so with that being said, let's jump into it. So we're going down this hypothetical road. Aaron Rodgers says, yes, I want to play football. The Green Bay Packers go, well, we don't want to move forward with you. We want to move forward with Jordan Love, which again, I want to be very clear, no one has indicated that that is the case. But Aaron Rodgers, if he retires and or is traded, as I said in the previous video about this, the Packers are still going to have to pay $40 million. This is all because of backloaded contracts. This is not new money or anything like that. So they are going to have to pay that regardless if Aaron Rodgers retires or moves on to a different team. Now, the earliest a trade could actually happen is March 15th. That's the start of the new year. That's when free agency is going to start to go. And I know people are already looking at this, said, well, what if we trade him post June 1st? Because that alleviates a little bit of the cap hit. And technically you're correct, because if Aaron Rodgers got traded post June 1st, the Packers would take a cap hit of $15.83 million in 2023, but would also take a cap hit of $24.48 million in 2024. And I don't imagine the Packers would go this route, even though it would free up some cap space here. Brian Gutekunst already said that they're going to have to restructure just about everybody's contract. And Aaron Rodgers said on Pat McAfee this week that his contract is likely to have to be restructured if he was to return to the Packers. But I don't think the Packers would do this post June 1st because they're going to want those draft picks right now, especially if they're starting Jordan Love, because you want to get as many weapons as you possibly can for your young quarterback, whether that is going to be offensive line, whether it's going to be building the defense, etc. They're going to want to try and capitalize on that as soon as possible. And on top of that, a reminder that the dead cap for Aaron Rodgers increases every single year that he is on the team, so it would be even more so in 2024 if he retired and or was traded after this upcoming season. Just wanted to put that information out there once again. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets. So the New York Jets, they have the defense. Sauce Gardner is up there for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He has been nominated. Their defensive line is really, really solid. Has the defense that Aaron Rodgers would love to play around, just like Tom Brady had a great defense all those years, because they can really change the tide of the game, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to put up 30 to 40 points. On top of that, looking at their offense, Breece Hall, when he returns, he was a stud this year. On top of that, you have a young wide receiver core that is talented. You have Elijah Moore. You have Garrett Wilson out there. The one thing I will say is the offensive line is a little bit shaky for the Jets, though you did have offensive linemen who were injured this season, so that could get better. And of course, you could have the Jets try and target offensive line in the draft and or free agency. Now, here's a slight hiccup before we start breaking this down even further. The Jets, their cap space is not great right now. They're at negative $2 million. They're going to have to restructure things around. And again, right now, they wouldn't take a huge cap hit if they take on his really big contract and eventually pay him $60 million, but it would only be a cap hit of about $15 million for this season. So again, things could be restructured so it could actually work out financially for the Jets. But why the Jets besides all that? Well, the Jets have been very adamant that they want to sign a veteran QB. Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, former head coach of the Denver Broncos. He was signed today to be the new offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. Hackett and Rodgers have an amazing relationship. Of course, all the stories are out there saying that, oh, maybe the Broncos, they brought in Hackett to try to attract Aaron Rodgers, and now this is what the Jets are trying to do. And again, I'm not going to speak to that because we just don't know. But hey, if Aaron Rodgers was to go to a place where they already have some young weapons and they have a great defense, bringing in a guy that he is very familiar with and very friendly with most certainly doesn't hurt. On top of that, the free agent QBs that the Jets could be looking at are kind of limited this year. You, of course, do have Tom Brady, who is an option here, though I don't know if Robert Saleh honestly wants to work with Tom Brady. I don't know if Tom Brady wants to go to the Jets. I know there's rumors about the Raiders, there's rumors about the Dolphins, but Brady could be an option there, but he didn't have his greatest season like Rodgers last year. On top of that, you have Jimmy Garoppolo, who was a guy that I was constantly saying that would be a perfect fit because he's not going to blow the roof off of anything, but Robert Saleh has a relationship with him. He knows Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think he could fit well into that scheme, and they could just be a heavy run team. Jimmy G can get the ball out of his hands and make plays, and again, they have the defense. So he literally could turn the Jets into the East Coast version of the San Francisco 49ers, and I think that would work out pretty well, and it wouldn't cost as much as getting Aaron Rodgers. And on top of that, they wouldn't lose any draft capital because Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent. On top of that, I don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be going anywhere, so I think that's going to be completely out. And then your other option is like Derek Carr, and I just don't think that Robert Saleh is going to have any interest in Derek Carr. So it's really going to come down to, do the Jets see enough value in Aaron Rodgers to, one, take on this big contract, and two, trade draft capital to get him? And so that brings us to our next question. What would a trade to the Jets look like for the Packers? What kind of compensation would there be? Because right now, the Jets, they have the number 13 overall pick, which is only a couple spots down from the Green Bay Packers. They also have the 43rd overall pick in the second round. And for the Packers, the best time to move Aaron Rodgers would have been last year, and it wouldn't have been so daunting. They would have gotten the most value for him coming off 2 MVP seasons, and now coming off a not so great season, and he's a year older, and he has this big contract. I don't know if he's going to command 3 first-round picks like you would have had last year, or what it likely would have been last year. So in honesty, I can see them moving the 13th overall pick, maybe a second-round pick like the 43rd as well, and then maybe a conditional pick for next year in 2024, depending on if he is going to play. But again, that's a big pill for the Jets to swallow, and I think they're really going to go after Aaron Rodgers only if they think this is the only guy we need to win a Super Bowl. And quite honestly, they might be, because as I spoke about before, they have the offense with Breece Hall coming back and putting a veteran QB back there like Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be working with Hackett, and you have the defense. They will be contenders in that division. Though I will say it's going to cost them a pretty penny. So I think realistically what you could see is you could see a first and second round this year going for Aaron Rodgers. And I know that wouldn't be a big haul, but we remember what Brett Favre was traded for, and that was after the Packers tried to give him a bunch of money just to stay at home. So I think that it is likely, if this trade was to happen, which is a big if because a lot of moving pieces are involved here, you could see the Packers recouping a first and a second for Aaron Rodgers. Packers are still going to get a $40 million cap hit from him, but then they can move on, go with Jordan Love. They'll have the 13th and 15th overall pick this year, and they could utilize that to go get whatever they want. Defensive line, they can go get a wide receiver, offensive line, etc. So it could give them that ammunition, and plus they could also package those trades and move up. So that's where we are currently at the moment. Of course, during this time when Aaron Rodgers is going to be sitting and thinking about his football career, there are a lot of stories that are going to be coming out. There's going to be a lot of conjecture that's going to come out. And at the end of the day, the real answer is the one that we don't want, is that we just have to wait. Aaron Rodgers is the key to all of this. He needs to decide if he is going to play football. If the answer is no, all of this is moot. If he answers yes, then it needs to be, hey, the Packers want him back, which they have indicated that they do. Matt LaFleur and Goody have said that they want him back. But if the Packers don't want him back, that's when this could kick in, and this will become a lot more relevant. But until then, again, we wait. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to get moved this offseason? Do you think he's just going to wind up coming back to the Packers? Let me know. You can find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or Tom Grossi Comedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.